Hey, welcome to Coffee, Coffee, Coffee. Today we are doing top 3 versus top 3 movies about dads because, well, Father's Day is in less than a week.
Right.
If you're watching this after it comes out right then. But otherwise, Father's Day could have been yesterday or a year from now.
But this is like, it doesn't matter what time of year.
It's about dads because they're not Father's Day movies technically. Well, I don't know. I don't know what your top 3 are. So maybe your 3 are all about Father's Day.
Right. No,
no they're not. Okay. So we are going to start with Kayla's number 3, and we will talk about it and see if we have any matching movies. And we'll show a little clip from that and talk about why it's important to us. And then we'll do my number 3, and we'll go on from there. Right?
What coffee are we drinking, by the way?
Oh, this is Pete's Big Bang.
I knew it was
coffee.
Pete's. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's some good coffee. We like to drink Pete's, especially we can get it for sale, on sale.
On sale. Okay.
Right. So what are we seeing first?
So my number 3 pick is Mrs. Doubtfire. Which I like. So the premise of this movie, it was made back in the 90s. So some people might not be familiar with it, but Robin Williams is going through a divorce. And so it's kind of an odd pick, I guess, for Father's Day.
Right.
But I think it's such a good example of why dads are important. I mean, I think especially in today's culture, dads seem to get pushed to the side. Like it's like, oh, it doesn't even really matter, like their role, but it's super important. And this movie, I think, does a really good job of bringing that out about how important a good father figure is in a kid's life, and how heart-wrenching divorce is. So,
on everybody involved, right?
Yeah. So this scene that we're going to watch, he had the whole point of the movie. It's a very funny, silly kind of movie. He ends up dressing up like this British lady to be his kid's nanny because, you know, he, of course, the way it happens in most cases these days is that the woman gets custody, the mother gets custody, and the dad just has to deal with it. And so the mom has to figure out a way for her kids to be taken care of. So he's like, okay, I'll try to get this nanny job. So of course it all kind of unravels at the end. And so then they're in court right now. And this is the custody hearing. So.
Your Honor, in the past 2 months, I've secured a residence. I've refurbished that residence and made it an environment fit for children. Those are your words. I'm also holding down a job as a shipping clerk. So I believe I met your requirements. Ahead of schedule. In regards to my behavior, I can only plead insanity. Because ever since my children were born, the moment I looked at them, I was crazy about them. Once I held them, I was hooked. I'm addicted to my children, sir. I love them with all my heart. And the idea of someone telling me I can't be with them, I can't see them every day, well, it's like someone saying I can't have air. I can't live without air, and I can't live without them. Listen, I would do anything. I just want to be with them. You know, I need that, sir. We have a history. And they mean everything to me, and they need me as much as I need them. So please, don't take my kids away from me. Thank you.
Yeah. So that was after he had been pretending to be the Mrs. Doubtfire.
Right. Yeah. So of course he kind of looks unstable, you know, to the judge and everything. And I just think it's so heartbreaking. Like the idea, like that the court system could take your kids away. I mean, and he's doing this all out of love and desperation. Like he doesn't want to be away from his kids. And I just think it's a really good movie because of that.
Yeah, it is.
Would you dress up like a British nanny?
If I had to,
if we ever got to that point.
If that was what it meant to like.
To be with your kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever it takes.
Right.
Right. So my number 3 is maybe a little more intense. It is about a dad who has to do something that he doesn't necessarily want to do.
Yeah.
You do.
I have a feeling
it could be a bunch of different things, but it is The Patriot.
Oh. Surprising. I didn't think. I'll keep the one that I thought it was going to be to myself, just in case it's one of your other ones.
Right.
The Patriot. Oh.
Well, in The Patriot, obviously, this was in like the American Revolution time, and Mel Gibson's wife is dead, right? She's gone.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to be involved in any of the fighting. He's just like, let me just stay here. But his son wants to go off and fight, Heath Ledger. And so he reluctantly allows him to go. But then the British soldiers come and they're doing the stuff at the house and they end up killing one of his sons right there in front of him. So that kind of pulls him in.
Right.
It's like Michael in The Godfather. And so he tries to get out, but you pull me back in. But so his son gets killed right there in front of his whole family, everybody. And so he's like, I have to do what I have to do because this cannot go on.
Right.
I can't let my family, not even like in that small situation, be involved. But he sees what will happen if he allows that to continue on such a small front. So this scene that I picked is after he's been off fighting for a while. And he's got this daughter who...
Oh, no. I'm going to cry. Maybe. I don't know.
Who hasn't spoken to him because she's so upset about the whole situation.
Right.
Little girl. So we'll see where we're at there.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Susan. Goodbye. Just one word, that's all I want. All right.
I'll say anything you want. Tell me what you want me to say. I'll say anything you want me to say. I'll say. I promise, Papa. Please don't
Susan,
go.
Susan. I promise. I'll come back. I'll come back. You believe me? You know, you make me very happy.
So
I didn't cry.
I've watched the clip a few times because I was getting it ready to show here, and I did cry each time I did it because like the whole time she's thinking if I don't talk, maybe he'll stay, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then and he has to go.
He has to go.
Right. Because, well, for one, it's not just about his family.
It's about his country.
It's about his country. And he knows what that means for the future of all these families around
But
him.
ultimately, I mean, I think that's why people fight for their country or you know, fight in a war is not really about that I love my country. It's that I love my family so much and I want my kids to be safe. I want them to grow up in a good environment.
Yeah. So that's a rough one.
That's a tough scene.
Yeah.
Tough movie to watch sometimes. I mean, it's really good, but there's some...
Yeah. Well, and he has to get his own young sons involved in the fighting as well. Like they're like, what, 12 and 10?
Really young. Yeah.
Yeah. That's rough.
Yeah.
But a good dad doing what he has to do.
Interesting that you picked that one. And my number 2 is Signs.
Really?
So it's actually, when you were talking about the setup of the movie, I thought, there's actually some similarities there. It's another Mel Gibson movie. He is a widower in this movie as well.
Right.
So he lost his wife 6 months ago, and in a freak kind of accident, she's walking along the road, and this guy falls asleep at the wheel, and so she ends up dying. But before she dies, she kind of gives this like weird kind of, not prophecy, but just gives him some things, and he thinks she's talking out of his head. But anyway, in the scene we're going to watch, what is happening is there's like an alien invasion that's happening, and everything's kind of really tense right now. And they're sitting down, to their like what may be their last meal together. They fixed like their favorite food,
right?
And so they're
individually,
each person like wanted a different thing. So they're sitting down, and I picked this because this movie, he is a father, obviously, but he's also a priest who has lost his faith. And so people keep calling him father, which I think is really interesting. Like, people think of him in this way, like you are my spiritual father or whatever. And he doesn't want that role. So in the scene we're going to see, he is still in that place. Like, he's struggling with the loss of his wife and this alien invasion and his loss of
faith.
The main thing, really, I think, is his loss of faith.
Yeah.
So.
What's the matter with everyone? Eat.
Maybe we should say a prayer.
No,
Why not?
we're not saying a prayer.
Bo has a bad feeling. I had a dream.
We aren't saying a prayer. Eat.
I hate you.
That's fine.
You let Mom die.
Morgan. I am not wasting one more minute of my life on prayer. Not one more minute. Understood? Now we are going to enjoy this meal. No one can stop us from enjoying this meal, so enjoy it! Stop crying!
Graham.
Don't yell at her!
All right. Since you're all not gonna eat, I'm gonna try some of everything.
Yeah, we just watched this the other night, actually.
Yeah. And so I love that scene because that happens. I mean, maybe not to that great an extent, but you can get really upset and your kids are crying and you just want everybody to calm down, and you end up making the situation worse because you're yelling and it's like, I don't want to yell, but life is hard sometimes. And that is, I'm not a father, but I think that's part of being a father is you have, you're trying to lead and everything, but sometimes you do break down and you cry.
Yeah. And Joaquin Phoenix is his brother.
Yeah.
Who came to live with them after Mel Gibson's wife died.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a tough thing. In a stressful situation like that, what do you do? And it does. Emotions can get the best of you. But really, it's not anger at them.
No.
It might be some anger at yourself or, fear coming out as anger. And stuff you have to deal with.
Yeah.
That good dad.
Yeah, really, really
the
good
things
dad.
that the good dads do the things that they believe are best. Like they're just trying. It may not seem right, but they're trying to do
trying to do right. And it doesn't mean that you never cry.
Right.
You may cry.
Yeah.
Or you may lose your way sometimes. But a group hug fixes everything.
Right. Or you might consider that there's another solution that is not a good solution, which leads me to my number 2 pick,
What a
which
segue.
is It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
So if you haven't seen this movie, there's something wrong with you and you should go see it. But it's a Christmas time movie. Actually, it's good any time of year, but it's a Christmas time movie. And so basically, Jimmy Stewart is George, who grew up in this small town, but he wants to travel, see the world, everything. He kind of gets roped in to running his father's business after his father passes away. So there's other scenes that I could have picked with him and his dad that were touching and about that relationship and how he, like, George stands up to the mean guy in the town about his dad, but and so his whole life is about, well, he basically just fell into doing what he needed to do. He wanted to get out of town, but he fell in love with this girl, and now he's a dad. But at this point in the movie, his uncle, who's a little, his mind isn't there all the time. He's kind of scatterbrained. Lost $8,000, which in the 30s was a huge amount of money. So, I mean, it's still a lot if you lose $8,000, but
I'd be upset.
So, and he comes home and the kids and his wife are like getting ready for a Christmas party, and he's just,
I know the scene
he's just upset about the situation.
You're just trying to get me to cry every one of these.
Yeah.
Better hurry and shave. The families will be here soon.
Families? I don't want the families over here.
Come on out in the kitchen with me while I finish dinner. Have a hectic day?
Oh, yeah, another big red letter day for the babies.
Daddy, the Browns next door have a new car. You should see it.
Well, what's the matter with our car? Isn't it good enough for you?
Yes, Daddy. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Excuse you for what?
I burped. All right, tell me you're excused. Now go on upstairs and see if little Zuzu wants anything.
Zuzu, well, what's the matter with Zuzu?
Oh, she's got a cold. She's in bed. Caught it coming home from school. They gave her a flower for a prize, and she didn't want to crush it, so she didn't button up her coat.
What is it, sore throat or what?
Just a cold. The doctor says it's
The doctor? Was the doctor here?
Yes, I called him right away. Said nothing to worry
Is she
about.
running a temperature? What is it?
Just a teensy one. 99.6. She'll be all right.
Of course, it's this old house. I don't know why we don't all have pneumonia. Drafty old barn place. Might as well be living in a refrigerator. Why do we have to live here in the first place and stay around this measly, crummy old town?
George, what's wrong?
Wrong, everything's wrong. You call this a happy family? Why do we have to have all these kids?
Dad, how do you spell frankincense?
I don't know. I asked your mother.
Where are you going?
Going up to see Zeus.
You told me to write a play for tomorrow.
So I know I cried. I cried when I was watching it before, but because I picked this one because it's like you get in these situations in life, you want to be providing all you can, but sometimes stuff just doesn't work out.
Right.
Like you're doing all that you can, or you feel that you're doing all that you can, or you're doing the right things, but then stuff just happens, and then everything becomes this thing. It's like the newel post thing just broken, and everything's drafty, and I can't afford this, and then we can't do that. But of course, the whole point of the movie is that that's not what life is about.
Right. That is not the important stuff.
It's all those things that were going on before them. Like if he had a different frame of mind when he's sitting there with them, which you didn't see the whole scene, but they're just happy and preparing for Christmas, and she's playing the piano and they're decorating the tree, and that's the important stuff.
Right.
But it gets me all the time.
Right, yeah. And actually, the part that always makes me cry is a little bit after this, because he comes down and really loses his temper and ends up just crying and hugging his kids and stuff. But yeah, it's a good scene. It's a good, great movie.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it. Yeah.
So, your number one?
My number one pick, and I'm surprised that this is not your number one pick. We know that we have no duplicates this time. So, this movie, I think, is just such a good movie about, well, this is about daughters and dads more than
I think I know what movie this is.
more than sons and their dads. So Father of the Bride.
Right. Yeah.
It is Steve Martin and Diane Keaton and several other actors, but George, his name's George in this one too.
George.
His daughter is getting married, and it's basically a guy that she just kind of met in Europe, and they're just they're just in love, and it's all kind of like sprung on him. He feels very surprised by the whole thing. And so they're going to have this wedding, and it kind of just snowballs. Like the cost is going to be very expensive. He's having to like fly people in from all over. And as the movie goes along, he's doing all this stuff, and it's really stressing him out. And so his wife says, "Why don't you go to the grocery store and pick up something for dinner?" And I love this scene because, first of all, I think it's really funny, but also I think it just hits on, again, I think it's funny, there's just stressful things that go along with being a dad. And so in this scene, he's just kind of like, he's had it. And so that's all I'll say.
Nina said as long as I was escaping, would I mind escaping to the market and picking up something for dinner? Sure, that was all I needed. A busy supermarket. I needed to drive, mellow out, get my mind off the wedding. But mellowing out was not in the cards.
Excuse me, sir, what are you doing?
I'll tell you what I'm doing. I want to buy 8 hot dogs and 8 hot dog buns to go with them. But no one sells 8 hot dog buns. They only sell 12 hot dog buns. So I end up paying for 4 buns I don't need. So I am removing the superfluous buns.
I'm sorry, sir, but you're gonna have to pay for all 12 buns. They're not marked individually.
Yeah. You want to know why? Because some big shot over at the Wiener Company got together with some big shot over at the Bun Company and decided to rip off the American public. Because they think the American public is a bunch of trusting nitwits who'll pay for things they don't need rather than make a stink. Well, they're not ripping off this nitwit anymore because I'm not paying for one more thing I don't need. George Banks is saying no.
Who's George Banks?
Me! Why don't we just calm down now, sir? I'll tell you why we don't calm down. Because you're not excited. It takes 2 people for a we to calm down, doesn't it?
That I don't know, sir. I'm just the assistant manager of a supermarket. But I'll tell you this. If you don't pipe down and pay for those buns, I'm going to call the police.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. That's right. Hey. Right. Hey. Hey, come here. Come here. Come here. That was the low point. Flipping out over 4 hot dog buns.
Oh, and so you probably noticed his jacket was split in the back and his pant legs were too short because he was putting on his tuxedo from his wedding.
Right. Yeah.
Because he was trying to save money.
Save money, yeah.
Oh, man. When we first started talking about doing these movies, that was the first movie that popped into my head. Mm-hmm. But I didn't ultimately pick it because it's like I'm in a different place as from what he is. He's a successful businessman with a shoe company, and
he
so
is
he's got
very
all
wealthy.
this money.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's just like he's being stingy is his kind of flaw, I would say.
But it is such a great movie.
Yeah, Steve Martin. He's a classic.
Yeah, yeah. The way he delivers all sorts of lines.
Yeah,
so good.
and that's a tearjerker of a movie too. For me. Like it's that father-daughter when they're playing basketball. I can't even talk about it right now. So let's move on.
So my number one is also about a businessman who was not successful to begin with, but became very successful through his struggles. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that movie is Pursuit of Happyness with Will Smith, which is based on a true story. And I think ultimately, let's see, out of the ones that we did, it's the only one that's based on an actual true character.
I think the guy on the Patriot, I think there is like a person in history that they say this is a very similar story.
Yeah.
But.
So anyway, so they're in San Francisco in the 70s or maybe the 80s, and he's married with a son, and they're just scraping by, barely, sometimes not even that, he and his wife, and they're like arguing all the time about the money and the taxes and this and that, and he's very entrepreneurial minded. They had purchased these bone density scanner machines, and each one was worth a month's worth of groceries for them at the time. So if he sold one, that's great, but if one gets stolen, that's a big problem, you know. And his wife ultimately has left him but he grew up without his dad. He didn't meet his dad until he was 28 years old, and he had made a promise to himself that his children were going to know who he was all through their life. So he has fought his wife to keep his son with him, even though they're homeless. So up until this clip that I chose, they have been living in homeless shelters. He's trying to sell these bone density scanners. He's trying to do little jobs to make money. He's trying to get this internship, which doesn't pay anything, just so he can learn how to do this stockbroker job. And so they're like, he has to work super hard at this internship training and then get out of there in time to get to the homeless shelter so they have a place to sleep at night, him and his son. So he's doing all these things, just trying to win in life, to get by. And so this scene, it's a Saturday. The plan for the day is they're going to play a little bit of basketball, and then they're going to try to sell one of the bone density scanners so that hopefully they can make some money, because he's got no money. And his son has just said, Dad, I'm going to go pro. He's a little 5-year-old kid. He's playing basketball saying, I'm going to go pro. And Will Smith, Chris Gardner is the character's name, has told him, don't put your hopes in that, because you'll probably be as good as I am, and I was never really any good, so maybe you should focus on something else. And so that's where we come in on this scene. So he sees that his son has given up on the dreams. This movie.
Hey. Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. All right?
All right.
You got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period. Let's go.
Dad, why did we move to a motel?
I told you, because I'm getting a better job. You gotta trust me, all right?
I trust you.
All right, here, come on, up.
Dad, when's Mom coming back? Dad, when's Mom coming back?
I don't know, Christopher. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir.
You got a bill of sale here.
Yes.
All the information you'll need. Thank you very much for your business.
Thank you.
This is the first one.
100, 200, 20, 40, 45, 46, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Thank you. Hey, you want one of those?
Oh, it's okay.
Come on, you got one. Which one? Like that one? How much?
25 cents.
So, yeah, no. And I've seen the clip this morning like 5-6 times already. But so, like, what hits me so much about this movie is that I'm the same way as far as entrepreneurial, and you just want to do these things. There's a line in the movie where he says that he had, when he was a kid, he would now I didn't get A's on my test, but he would get like an A on a test, and he would have all these dreams about the things that he could do, and he never did them, just never ended up doing them. And so, even though Kayla's never left me, this movie speaks to me a lot, because he's just trying to do the best that he can to figure out where do I fit? What do I need to be doing? How can I make it happen to provide for my family? And then they're homeless. He's trying to do this, and then finally he can buy a 25-cent candy bar.
I know, a candy bar.
And the kid understood that. Like, until that point, it's like, oh, it's okay.
Right.
I don't need it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the hardest part of that scene is that the kid is like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't need it.
Been there. And
right,
and like, it's like, I can't,
Right.
We need that 25 cents.
Yeah.
I mean, a candy bar is not 25 cents now, but it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of
hard.
A story my dad would tell us about when he was taking, they were at the store and they were going through a hard time financially. I mean, young kids, that whole thing. And my brother asked for these like Spider-Man slippers, and like my dad, sorry, I'm about to cry. My dad like realized like in that moment, my kid is never gonna like this is not gonna be an issue in the future. It was like fuel because they couldn't afford it at the time. And I can't remember if he ended up like buying them and it was difficult to buy them or what, but ultimately your kids are such motivation, and that's really what parenthood is all about, I guess, is trying to give your kids a good life. And
yeah, and this movie really it can show you how comfort keeps you at a certain level.
Yeah, because he really does have to.
He has to go through some uncomfortable stuff.
Right.
Like I mean, when you're sleeping in a subway bathroom, not like the restaurant, but the subway station bathroom with your kid because you have nowhere else to go, then you say, this is the furthest down we can get. And so, and then he ends up becoming a multimillionaire it starts his own brokerage and all that stuff through all that, whatever. So comfort is not good. Right? Yeah. Or where you're at this just
but yet that's what
level.
You're striving for.
You're striving for comfort. Yeah. That's the hard thing.
I think that's the hard thing for fathers and maybe mothers too, is you want to provide a level of comfort for your kids, but at the same time, that comfort could end up hurting them. So you kind of have to figure out like, what is that right balance of comfort and discomfort? And, you don't want your kids to be like entitled brats, like where you just give them everything, but yet you do want to give them everything. So it's kind of a hard thing. Being a parent's rough sometimes.
Yes, it is.
Do you have any runners up that didn't make the list, but it was close?
Well, Taken was on my list.
Taken was also on my. I just couldn't quite bring myself to.
Yeah, because it's like, my kids haven't been kidnapped.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really fitting into that role.
Yeah, it's a good one though.
Yeah.
And Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was on mine because it's Indiana Jones and his dad. His dad is played by Sean Connery, and it's a really good movie. But anyway, it just didn't speak to me on the level that these other three did.
Right. So do you have any movies on your list about dads, your favorite movie dads, or maybe TV dads too? That could work too. Let us know
TV dads.
in the comments below. And we hope that you enjoyed this segment.
Yes.
Because I enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, I did too.
Even though it made me cry. Crying's good though. Crying can release things in your system.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. And until next time.
Keep grinding.
Since you're still here, wanted to let you know about my children's book that is available on Amazon in print and ebook. It's called The Pirate Skeleton Who Lost His Teeth. So won't you and your children help Scully find his lost teeth?